Hey, what's going on, everyone? This is Mitch. Good Monday morning to you all. Hope you guys are feeling fantastic out there and having yourselves a great start to your day and a great start to your week. Got you an update on what's going to happen weather-wise for today, and then towards the end of the video, we'll discuss a little bit on what's coming up, but we won't get detailed. We did that last night in last night's video, and we'll do it again this evening. I think there's a lot of smaller to kind of medium type things coming up in the weather world that is certainly worth discussing. We need to try to figure out one. I think that looms large potentially is a low pressure off the coast of the eastern U.S. Could this become tropical in nature, subtropical, kind of like a hybrid type setup? We need to figure it out because it certainly looks like it could potentially impact the weather for our Memorial Day weekend sometime into Memorial Day. So we'll talk about that. I think we got an pretty active stretch of weather for the plains coming up. I think there'll be a chance for severe storms in certain areas each day going forward over the next several days, maybe throughout the rest of the month. And you'll see something new in this video. For you folks out west, I'm going to begin to talk a little bit about your weather. The detail is not going to be there initially. For you folks that don't know about the West, there's a lot of microclimates. I've never even been out west, and I know this. So there's a lot of areas that, one area will sit 8,000 feet up. Then, you go a few miles down the road and you're a valley and only a few thousand feet up. So it's a lot different. It's a different beast out there. And one of the things I definitely take pride in doing on this channel is getting detailed. But I think it's about time to talk about you folks out west a little bit more on the channel. So I'll start incorporating things and discussing your weather a little bit more, especially in the morning videos. It's just kind of a daily forecast. I got people who view out west who watch my channel, even though I don't talk about the weather, and it's certainly appreciated. And I certainly love you folks for that, and I'm definitely thankful for you all. So with that being said, if you guys have not subscribed, certainly consider doing that. Like the video if you like it. If you guys got anything that I can pray about or pray over, as always, please put it in the comments below so I can do that. And remember, there is tabs in these videos. There's timestamps, so you can skip over certain areas that you don't want to hear about, and so forth. So let's talk about what's going on out there right now. So if you look at the very far corner of your screen over here, that is our area of interest. We'll talk about that here in a second. We have a stalled frontal boundary over the eastern U.S., and we have a lot of moist air south of that frontal boundary. So there could be a little bit of a flooding threat that may emerge over the next 48 hours for South Georgia, areas of Florida. Really all of Florida maybe has a threat for it. But I'm watching also, like I said, South Georgia too. As if you're south of this boundary, along this boundary, you have continuous showers and storms that continue to pop up. We'll watch a little mid-level piece of energy that flies through across the west and kind of southwest, south central areas, southern plains, that will spark some strong to severe storms in western Texas, the panhandle of Oklahoma also a little bit later today. And then we'll watch a piece of energy that could potentially emerge from out west and eventually, potentially, I know I say eventually, potentially a lot, could really impact the weather more as we get closer to the weekend, as we have kind of a southern stream piece of energy down here that will just be very slow moving, but will continue to pull in a lot of low level moisture into the south central U.S. We look at kind of what's going on at the surface. One thing I'll mention is there a lot of rain falling in areas of the south. Sorry about the little glitch where it disappears. Does this a lot. I need to figure out the little kinks with this site, but let's see if we can stop it and get it going here. Let's see if it'll fix itself, and it did. So we're good. The frontal boundary is right into here, so you're close enough to this boundary in Augusta where you're waking up to some heavy showers, and then you get a little bit further deep into it, it gets very moist quick. It gets a lot more humid. If you go up to like the upstate of South Carolina, you're waking up to a crisp air mass. But if you go to the low country of South Carolina, for example, it's very humid this morning, and then there's a lot of rain in Georgia, falling some storms just south of Brunswick, Georgia, and just a lot of shower activity in Alabama, Mississippi, even South Georgia, the panhandle of Florida. So we move back over here. We still have some lingering energy from yesterday in western Oklahoma, areas of the eastern panhandle of Texas. A little bit of a spin going on in southwest Kansas. Outside of that, not a big deal. A little bit of shower activity in Nebraska. And we zoom out. It's pretty quiet up here in the northeast. You got a little bit of a northwest flow coming off the Great Lakes. These are not snow showers, just rain showers up here in northern Michigan and the UP of Michigan. Just a little bit of shower activity and a little bit of moisture still ongoing out here in western Montana and areas of Idaho. Some rainy conditions in Seattle, it looks like this morning, but of course, that's not totally unusual for that area. And a little bit of moisture here in western Colorado, eastern Utah. We keep going. We look at watches and warnings. Flood watches up for southwest Georgia, southeast Alabama, and the panhandle and areas of the Big Bend regions of Florida. A lot of rain could fall in this area between now and the several days. We got to watch an evolving flooding threat, especially as another cold front pushes down and the origins of our potential tropical or subtropical system could get going over Florida. So this is just from the stalled frontal boundary right now. A lot of rain can fall. So we'll watch this. We'll talk about how much rain can fall over the next 24 hours in that region a little bit later in the video. Storm Prediction Center, marginal risk. If you're south of this frontal boundary, kind of draped over areas of the southeast, you have the ingredients for some strong to severe storms. It's kind of just a typical summer flow in these regions. These could be slow moving. Outflow boundaries will kind of explode off these storms, which is rain-cooled air. This will initiate more convection showers and storms around that. And a little bit of a flooding threat could emerge. But even with the initiation of these storms down here in, kind of the interior areas of the peninsula of Florida, all of the panhandle of Florida, and then, southern sections, as far southern counties of Georgia, and then southern and southeast areas of Alabama, these storms could be strong to severe. Not a tornado threat, much of one. You can't rule out it, of course, but just a brief damaging wind threat and then some hail. The bigger threat is right in here. You have a slight risk for severe storms. It's a level 2 out of 5. This has not increased from yesterday evening's video. It's remained the same. Still got a 2% risk of a tornado within 25 miles in any given location. Wind risk, a 15% risk of winds pushing 50 knots or higher within 25 miles in a given location. That's 55 to 60 miles per hour. And the hail risk is a 15% risk of hail in excess of 1 inch or larger in the yellow risk here, 15% chance of that. And then you have another severe weather risk here in Montana. Today, Great Falls, kind of right where the connection of the higher elevations go into the lower elevations here in Montana. We'll watch for some storms to get going pretty early this afternoon and then pretty much fall apart by the evening, but we'll get a little bit more detail on that here in a second. National Hurricane Center update. This is still, as of the 2 a.m. update from overnight, has a 10% chance to develop within the next 2 days and the next 7 days. I just have the 7-day graphic up here. I always like this graphic a little bit better. But I expect this to drop. But this will bring a lot of rain for Bermuda. In fact, Bermuda could get a lot of rain. And this is because a couple cold fronts will drape across the eastern U.S. And this will basically push the moist flow kind of out to sea. And that out to sea avenue takes you right over to Bermuda. So you have a fire hose of moisture. But we'll watch this. This is not expected to develop, but I would expect sometime later this week another area of interest to emerge. Not going to say there's a 100% chance of it, but I'll certainly watch. And if we take a look at what's going on with this system right now, if you notice, you see the screen kind of go from blurry looking to more clear looking. The sun is coming up, which happens every single morning. So it's coming up on this area of interest. And if you look right here, there's a spin right here hard. This is that low-level spin we talk about, but all the mid-level convection is being now displaced from that low-level spin. This is kind of the heart of the system, if you will. And when you don't have anything protecting it, and then that low-level spin gets exposed, then that's pretty much the demise of any kind of tropical system for the most part. And what's happening is, as we talked about, this westerly shear is blasting in from the west and moving to the east, and it's slamming pretty much all of this storm system, and it's displacing any kind of showers and storms well to the east of this system. And that is just because of this cold front. We talked about that in detail. So these storm systems do not like sheer, rapid change and directional flow of winds aloft the higher you get in the atmosphere. So we take a look at what could happen in the southeast today, and we get this going more of a broad look. Georgia, numerous showers and storms, especially the southern areas of the state we get into this afternoon. But look at Florida. Almost the entire state of Florida has an equal chance to get showers and storms, especially the central the Panhandle to the Big Bend, and pretty much the rest of Florida, especially the inland areas of Florida. A lot of showers, a lot of storms. Some areas could get a lot of rain quick today. I wouldn't be surprised if somebody gets I don't know, 2, 3, 4 inches of rain today, depending on if, these storms could form over your area and just kind of train over your region. But a lot of rain expected here in central and southwest Georgia, also southern Georgia. I would say there's also a chance for some showers and storms in southern Alabama, even western Alabama. And then I would say just more so just kind of light to moderate rain once you get to central and northern Georgia. I was in North Georgia this weekend, and it rained just about the entire weekend. There was areas where it was nice weather, but another dreary Monday afternoon for you folks up here, as you're just a little bit too close to that frontal boundary. But with the loss of daytime heating, these storms will kind of dwindle away in Florida. But, it could still be raining pretty good to Birmingham, to Atlanta, southward. A little bit closer of what could happen here. Basically, if you're near Albany, Georgia, Macon, Georgia could see some showers and storms, but Albany, Columbus, Dothan, Alabama, down the Tallahassee, Valdosta, Lake City, Jacksonville, Gainesville, a lot of shower and storm activity. Montgomery could get some storm activity, but it's a lot more widespread in these regions right into here. And like I said, as you get into the late evening, overnight hours, you might have a kind of another area, rejuvenation of showers and storms that get going from Atlanta, point south, and maybe to Birmingham overnight tonight. If we look at how much rain can fall in this region from the National Weather Service, this is just between now and the next 24 hours. 1 to 2 inches of rain is possible. Certain areas can get 3 inches of rain, going for over an inch in Jacksonville, Tallahassee, kind of the same deal. A lot of rain can fall in North Florida, southern Georgia. So a lot of rain. But, there's a sharp cutoff up here in North Georgia and South Carolina where you won't get much at all. But the rest of Florida, these storms really explode really quick. Big time daytime heating. Instability builds very quick, and then just after lunchtime today, numerous showers and storms for just about everybody, unless the only area that might get saved is if you're on the immediate coastline. The sea breeze might stabilize the atmosphere, and these storms will remain just inland. But this is this evening. Gainesville, all the way to the southern tip, all the way to the Key West area. Showers and storms are numerous. A lot could fall all the way to Tuesday morning, and then we look at the National Weather Service forecast for rain. A lot of rain. This is just in the next 24 hours. These areas you see in red, that's 2 to 3, maybe as much as 4 inches of rain. So I'm telling you, there's going to be some flash flooding risk really anywhere if you're just off the coastline of Florida today. So please be aware if you're in Disney World vacation and Universal Studios, just on vacation in Florida in general. It's going to be a rainy day for sure. You look at the Northeast, much quieter weather. You're just being dominated pretty much by the influence of this troughing of this cold front. High pressure is influencing the region. And sorry to only give you guys about 15, 20 seconds of fame here, but the only thing I could see is maybe you wake up to some drizzles, some showers around the Finger Lakes region, southern tier areas of New York State. But nice weather. Enjoy it. I'm sure your pools are struggling to warm up just because of the continuous cold fronts that continue to cool you guys back down. But even here in the South, I talked about last night's video, these cool mornings are really, it's a slow process of warming up some of these bodies of water, whether it's a pool, a pond, a lake. Definitely a slower process this year than in years in past. But the South Central U.S., the Southern Plains, storms will initialize quickly in New Mexico. Area of more kind of congealed showers, maybe even a storm, and kind of southwest and western areas of Colorado. But we'll watch for stronger showers and storms to get going in western Texas, the panhandle of Oklahoma a little bit later today, and could get some storm activity even as far east as eastern and northeast Mississippi. And then this quickly, later this evening, this kind of dies out. I would honestly say that the severe weather threat maybe has dropped a little bit in this region, but a little bit closer look, storms will fire up very quickly early this afternoon in southwest Texas. And, they'll breeze across, If you live, I would say, let me look at my old Google Maps here, Amarillo, the Lubbock, the Midland, Odessa, certainly everybody in this region has an equal chance to see some showers and storms. I would say if you live a little bit further north, the ingredients are a little bit better for more intense, severe weather. But this could develop into maybe a line of storms as it kind of heads off into western Oklahoma. So I'd watch, if you're in the Elk City, Mangum area, Childress, Paducah, Texas region. Watch out for some storms. These could make their way all the way down. I guess that's not a city. Cool. This eventually could drift all the way into Abilene before weakening overnight tonight. And just with the loss of daytime heating, there's no really gas for these to continue to refire overnight. So just watch this area today, this entire region of western Texas, the panhandle of Oklahoma for some stronger storms. Up here in the north central U.S., you might get some shower activity in northern Minnesota that could last throughout the afternoon, evening hours. Outside of that, maybe some shower activity in northeast South Dakota, southeast North Dakota. Outside of that, pretty quiet. You got another cold front that begins to dig down for tomorrow, but that's tomorrow. But the weather today in the north central U.S., pretty chill. Not a whole lot going on. So enjoy that. Now the western U.S., we don't do this much, but here we are. We moved through here. You guys have finally cooled down a little bit out here. You had some big time heat, I believe, last week. But with a little system that's flying across the western U.S., numerous showers, potentially some storm activity could be ongoing here in Utah. Some showers are possible in eastern Nevada. A little bit of shower activity in northern, maybe a snow shower or something in kind of northern Arizona. Some of these higher elevations in western Colorado, some of this could mix with some snow depending on your elevation. And some shower activity are possible, maybe in Yellowstone a little bit later this afternoon. But really, I would say the biggest concern areas in Montana a little bit today, as I'm watching certainly some strong to severe storms that are possible that could sweep through basically the heart of Montana. And let me get up here and try to pronounce some of these names. But we'll start off this morning. Some showers throughout the morning hours in kind of western Montana will fly through. And then I would watch an area of more significant weather, I would say. The Helena area, Great Falls region, some storms could fly through. These could produce some hail. Some gusty winds, and they could fly through and then maybe kind of make their way into central, maybe northern Montana. I would watch out around the Billings area, but I would say probably the biggest threat for severe weather might be north, but then it gets into more of a rural area. How do you pronounce that? Havre? Folks in Montana correct me, but some storms around that area, these kind of northern, north central sections of Montana, as we get into the later afternoon, evening hours, could get some storms that could produce some hail and some gusty winds for sure. We look at temperatures. My word, it's warmer in the northern plains, the Dakotas and Minnesota, than it is in the southeast, where you're being influenced by a ridge of high pressure. 80s, some 90s are probably going to happen in western sections of Minnesota, eastern sections of the Dakotas. It'll be quite warm and very humid along the Gulf coastline, especially before these storms fire up. I think it'll heat up big time before these storms fire up in Florida. Some areas might clip the low 90s before storms cool you down. And where, you're not being influenced by clouds, it'll be in the 70s and 80s in areas of the southeast and northern southeast and mid-Atlantic, but low humidity. This will be a comfortable 70s and 80s. Same kind of deal up here along the I-95 corridor. You got a flow that does not favor warm temperatures in Boston, only the 50s, but the Great Lakes region, beautiful weather, beautiful. 70s, upper 70s, some 80s are expected. You look out west, it's probably going to hit 90 degrees somewhere in Montana today. With big time heating, you're being influenced by a ridging that is also warming up significantly areas of Canada also. But that's why it's warmer up here. Ridge of high pressure dominating the pattern. This normally brings above average temperatures, and certainly it's getting to that time of the year where the desert Southwest is beginning to heat up regardless of what kind of pattern is in place. I mean, it's the desert Southwest for a reason, and the valleys are starting to heat up into the 90s. A little bit cooler in the Northeast, a little bit cooler where you're being influenced by just a little bit of troughing up here, much cooler than we've seen. So, Seattle will certainly be cooler today. Areas of northern sections of Idaho, definitely cooler than what we've seen. So, going forward, tomorrow we'll have a threat for severe weather. It has a slight risk of severe weather in areas of northern and kind of northwest sections of Texas. So kind of the same player. There's a system in the southwest that's continuously bringing moist, unstable air into this region. And even though, you go, and by the way, kind of the same deal as today, 2% chance of a tornado, 15% risk of winds, but only a 5% risk of hail as of now. But you go into day 3, you just have a marginal risk as of now, but I'm telling you, I would not be surprised if even this upgrades to a slight risk. And if you go through day 4 and 8, it says predictability too low, which doesn't mean there's not going to be severe weather. It just means what it says, that the confidence is low. But I would say you're going to have an active pattern of at least a chance for strong to severe storms each and every day for the foreseeable future in the southern plains. So I would say overnight, confidence has increased a little bit more that we're going to have some kind of system off the coast of the north-southeast. After they kind of dropped yesterday, they've increased. So this is Friday morning, or overnight Thursday into Friday morning. This low pressure bringing a lot of weather, a lot of heavy rain potential over Florida. This eventually emerges off the coast of Florida, the eastern coast, off the coast of the southeast. And then we have a system. And sometime Friday, we could be dealing with a low pressure off the coast of the southeast. What happens with this? Do we have some kind of upper level low that yanks this further north or maybe even northwest? It's possible. But this is, for example, for Saturday afternoon. Look at all this rain being pulled into the Carolinas based off one run of the GFS. So this would make for a very damp, at least kind of portion of Memorial Day weekend. But this gets yanked completely in to the northeast, and then it weakens. It's not a very strong low pressure by any means, guys. It's not. One thing I look for a stronger low pressure, even on land, is when this thing gets below 1,000 millibars. That's when you start to say, okay, this is trying to develop. But as of now, we watch this. Okay, you look at the European model and what it shows. It's kind of the same deal. Not a very strong low pressure, but certainly a low pressure. And it gets kind of yanked into North Carolina, the mid-Atlantic. So we need to see what's going to happen with this. We'll continue to try to figure this out for you folks. That's all I got. God bless all y'all. Have a great Monday, and I'll talk to you this evening.